So today I'm speaking with Councillor Ken Turner, who represents the Waitākere Ward on Auckland Council. Ken came into office in 2022 and has quickly built a reputation as someone unafraid to speak out, especially when it comes to the internal workings of council and how decisions are made. He's been vocal about barriers elected representatives face in accessing the information they need to serve their communities effectively. Ken has said that often he feels he only finds out the full picture after a vote has taken place, and that council bureaucracy seems to control what elected members are allowed to know. Thanks for joining us, Ken.
Nice to meet you too. I'm a 68-year-old Kiwi, fourth generation from West Auckland. I've been a mechanic all my life, started when I left school at 15 and went into business when I was 27, and my business is still running, although my little crew of staff, my merry men, run it as their own these days and are doing a good job. About 10 years ago, I was your typical whinger at a barbecue saying, I hate this, I hate that, this isn't good, that isn't good. And someone said, well, get stuck in and do something about it. I did, and I have done for the last 10 years. Although my first two attempts, 2013 and 2016, I was unsuccessful in getting elected.
This is your first term, is that right?
As a councillor, it is,
Yeah.
yes.
Are you planning to restand next term?
Well, you get a warm flush come over when you think about not standing because you get your life back. But there's fights to fight, and I've gone through a huge apprenticeship. I'm better placed than I've ever been to fight them on behalf of the people. I want to go forward.
And what electorate do you represent?
Waitākere Ward.
So coming into the council as an elected member for the first time, have you been surprised by how difficult it was to access information?
Yeah, so I did 5 years as a local board member and considered that. I always used to tell the staff that, oh, you're about to massage me again. You could feel the nose ring coming in as they being slipped in as you start a debate. Council's a next level, a next level.
What's your experience been like?
The structure is dysfunctional when you analyze it. It's not all the bureaucrats' fault, it's not all the politicians' fault, but you've got politicians coming and going on a triennial basis. You have problems which, because it's a bureaucracy, take decades to fix. The staff are struggling with political direction because it's not clear to them. It could be completely different in 3 years. You have to feel for them in that way. But then on the other hand, there's a lack of, if you argue against the mantra of the bureaucracy, it's proof that you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's two types of politics in this place: political politics and bureaucratic politics.
Which one do you like to play?
Oh, I'm here for the issues, not the politics, and that's the whole problem. I don't want to play either of them. I want to make observations, listen to what the people want, and work out how to get it back on all cylinders. That's the issue at the moment. I appreciate the mayor has turned the council vehicle onto a more fiscally responsible path. But in my opinion, the vehicle's still broken. The wheel bearings are shagged, the brakes don't work, but the worst thing is a steering wheel in front of each seat. That's the problem with this place, too many bosses.
One challenge that we've heard from speaking to other councillors or elected members is about the long tenure of council staff and executives, sometimes in those roles for decades. Do you think that long-term, embedding of those roles, create a power imbalance for councillors coming in, especially when paired with newly elected councillors or board members?
Yeah, but you've also got that in the elected people. You've got embedded, name recognition. When I stood in 2013, I stood against a particular person in my area on the local board, and I failed twice. I won decisively in a by-election in my third attempt. The by-election was because the poor woman had passed away.
Oh.
I didn't want her to pass away to beat her. There's the name recognition. I couldn't beat her until she wasn't there.
Yeah.
This is not just embedment in the bureaucracy. There's embedment in the political world too, in politicians. And yeah, it's a strange sort of act of humanity.
Yeah, it seems more like a popularity contest. If they recognize the name, you can look at, and Tauranga is a good example. Our mayor was an Olympic rower. Immediately, it was like, oh, Mahi Drysdale. I'm not saying that he's a bad mayor, but he's a first-time mayor coming into a system. We've got a whole new council. We've come out from a commissioner-led council, and we're seeing a lot of these same conversations happening, which is why it was interesting to see this article. One of the things I have found interesting is many people assume that councillors just get elected and they can log in and find whatever it is they need. Has that been your experience?
No, that is not my experience. I just walked out of a meeting, a drop-in session where I spat the dummy. Let's look at a specific example. Auckland Council has these full facilities contracts. We're very big regionally as a council, and although we're divided into 21 local boards, we've only divided ourselves into 5 maintenance service areas.
Oh,
And that's one of the reasons why you get contractors driving 100 miles to service a broken door on a public toilet at the other end of their contract area.
Right.
So these are the biggest full facility contracts in Australasia.
wow.
And 4 of the 5 mega contractors who have one each of these mega areas are Australian. And so you sort of go, wow, we're in the middle of a thing called a P27 review. So these mega contracts came into place in 2017. They're being reviewed now, ready to roll over in 2027 for another 10 years. So you let that happen if the model's not right, and in my opinion, it's not. It doesn't matter how many politicians you change or how many CEOs you sack and re-employ. You're not going to change anything because you've got a contract in place. So in the middle of all my work to challenge this, I've made a surprising observation. I'm on the Tupunamonga Authority. I'm also the regional park chair. So that's 2 entities within the council framework. Although there's a structural difference, they put out basically the same outcomes for the public. The Tupunamonga Authority is, in my observations, far more streamlined and efficient with their maintenance and upkeep delivery. So I've been using them as a benchmark in all my discussions, and everyone's looking at me saying, oh, yes, Councillor, oh, well, you don't understand. The big contracts work best, and we've experienced all this, and we've experienced all that, and we know best. And I finally get to the Chief Executive's office to discuss my concerns and discover that the Tupunamonga Authority is the only entity of Auckland Council who is not in the full facilities contracts.
Oh, no way.
They quite wisely refused to go in and were able to understand it was a bit of a fight in 2017. So my observations and the argument I've been having is correct. And the people, the majority of the people I've sat in front of, senior management, and I've gone, oh, well, dearie me, oh, yes, oh, I see what you say, but I don't know if you're right. They all sat there in the knowledge that the Tupunamonga Authority isn't in the full facilities contracts. It proves my point. They even have some of the big contractors doing their work, but through their own small bespoke contracts. I've been jackhammering away for 18 months to find out I was correct, to find out that everybody knows, and no one wanted or would tell me.
Wow. It's shocking.
Yes, it is.
For someone on the outside.
It's shocking for someone, you know.
On the inside.
Yes. When you discover this stuff, you know, I'm not a career politician. I came into this with expectations. We all sit around the barbecue or the bar making up bullshit about council. You can't make it up bad enough. I don't know if you've ever seen that Australian mockumentary or something called Utopia.
Yes.
My wife's banned me from watching it because that is
spot on.
There's a lot of good people in these bureaucracies. It's just a microcosm of the community. But there's something about bureaucracy which causes an entity of itself with its own life too.
What kinds of information have you found the hardest to access?
Financial.
Is it often labeled as sensitive or proprietary?
Yeah, it's labeled as commercially sensitive. How can it be? In these cases, it is one client and one customer. As the customer, we have predetermined the attributes that the provider must have for us to deem them worthy to do our work for us. Right. So we've cut everybody else out anyway. What's commercially sensitive when there's just one customer, us, and one provider, our preferred provider, that we've already identified?
What do you think is the right balance between protecting what is sensitive information? What is that balance between giving councillors enough to make informed decisions, or what's your take on that balance?
I think that when it comes to the public side of the question, and the decision, private information, anything to do with, their privacy, but also when you come to identifying, planning for future developments, which may require the purchase of private property. It's absolutely important that you protect them from the ramifications that the knowledge widely spread might have on them financially or personally. So you've got the personal side, the ratepayer side of that question. But the other side of the question, which is what council has done with the dollars we paid them, should be open slather.
Yeah, I agree. Open the books. Show us where the
Yep.
money's gone. Yeah. As a business owner, could you
Yep.
imagine if you just told the IRD they can't see where your money's gone?
Oh, that's, yeah.
You know? In your opinion as an Auckland councillor, and this is going back to that access to information that we talked about in the beginning, do you believe this is part of a wider issue where unelected staff are effectively running councils and sidelining elected officials? Is this just an Auckland problem? Are you aware of similar issues across New Zealand?
Yeah, I think it's widespread.
Why do you think this keeps happening?
Well, as a grumpy old tradie, I think it's the universities that are at fault. I think we just training young people in a whole bunch of academic theory. We are not, the old traditional apprenticeships where it wasn't really about learning your trade. It was about growing up and learning about the world and reality.
Right.
At the same time as working out if you stab yourself in the hand with a screwdriver, it hurts. All that reality of life's gone. We've got, looking out my office, I'm in my office now, I'm looking at, there's a lot of good young people out there, but they work in a lot of cases, I would think the majority of them work on a theoretical academic understanding. And when you get in a bureaucracy, which is a monopoly, you become disconnected from the people.
Yeah.
My youngest son is certifying, he's got his building practitioner tickets, he's a certifying drain layer, got a small little company of his own. The stuff I've seen, we have all these rules and regulations. Let's go back to the mega contracts. The reason that the smaller New Zealand contract working in his own area would be better, in my opinion, is that he's working in front of his peers. He knows the area. He has institutional knowledge of the area and where the problems are and where they're not. Wendy and Harry are his friends, and they'll soon tell him if he's done a crap job. The corporatization of everything takes away the humanity. You can't ring up, you don't know who to talk to, you can't make a complaint, it all goes to an AI computer. In my opinion, we go through all this planning and policy and all this sort of stuff. In comes a foreign investor developer who bangs them up and buggers off.
Yeah.
I was in Hobsonville a couple of months ago. I went and visited a house where they've got sewage smells coming up. They proved to me, and I saw the evidence, that there is some of the houses whose sewage has been piped into the stormwater, and as you can pull up one of the stormwater manholes in the public parking area on the road, you can see raw sewage, and it's going into the harbour. Because someone in Waitākere knows about it. I've told them, but they knew about it before me. Some of those houses in those multiple complexes have just had the sewer bunged into the stormwater.
I have friends that live there and they had the same issue in their brand new house.
So what was the point? What was the point of all that myriads of bureaucracy if it's got no goddamn teeth?
Yeah.
My dad used to say to me, don't fail to speak your mind for the fear of making a fool of yourself. At least people will know you're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I quite often say in here, I'm sorry, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
You sit there, and I started doing it because when I was on the local board, I'd go, man, I don't understand this. And then you'd stop for coffee and people would say, yeah, I didn't understand it either. It seems like rubbish. Well, why didn't you say so in the meeting?
Yeah.
So in the meeting, I have no qualms about saying, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you do make a fool of yourself. Other times, the staff start trying to explain, and then they start stuttering, and then there's big pauses, and all of a sudden you realize, hey, I'm on the money here. This is unexplainable.
Yeah. When you've got some good counselors like yourself who are ready to ask questions, pushback and not just go with the flow because it's easier. I've mad respect for elected members like you that can ask a question when it doesn't make sense, look for clarity, because a lot of times from what I'm seeing, that is the thing that's missing, is people just being brave enough to say, I don't understand this doesn't make sense. So thanks for that. I think that's a great trait to have. Is it your view that like a lack of access to information could be sometimes used to push counselors toward like a predetermined outcome?
Oh, it's my observation, it's my feeling that information has been given to me in certain ways in order to steer me and lead me in a certain way. There is a big stick. When you get into this place, you get a hat, and on that hat there's a big stick. On the front of it, they put the carrot. On the back of it, they put a whacking machine, and they're in total control of that the whole time. And they really try to. There's a lot in running an organization which turns over $6 billion. I think that's what we did. 3.2 in capex and 3.6 in opex. So as a small businessman, I'm not about to be so arrogant as to pretend that my learnings as a small businessman equip me for an organization of that size. However, they do bring something to the discussion, my small business realities. I can't be over every subject.
Yeah.
None have to decide what are the main things that your public you're representing most hot under the collar about.
Yeah.
And because Auckland's so big, they can be different to in the west and the east and the north and the south. There are times where my vote is led by the councillor from the affected area.
Right.
I can't be over everything.
Yeah.
We get so much information. Even if you did read it all, no one can.
Yeah.
I go to meetings and they say, we'll take this presentation as read. So I often say, no, excuse me. I haven't. Don't take it as read. Because they're doing that just to control you. They've given you 140 pages and then say, oh, we've taken it as read. You read the executive summary. That's the nugget in the pile. But I've had situations where the executive summary was not in line with what was in some of the substantive. So I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, yes, we'll take it as read. Any questions? Or say aye.
Yeah.
You can explain it to me.
Have you noticed, like, I know everyone's talking about growth and we're pushing for developments, faster growth, everything's going at kind of high speed. The government made a new announcement around changes to the local government. Do you think these changes will help? Do you think they could be improved? Do you think it will stifle community voice further? Do you think it will add more layers of bureaucracy? Have you had an opinion on that?
The fundamental problem is we're trying to use growth to get rid of our growing pains. You can't, I'm also councillor's appointee to the Waitākere Ward, and I'm watching those guys. I enjoy that board. I'm watching them struggling. They are mandated to deliver Aucklanders water. But the day you turn your tap on and water doesn't come out, that's going to hit the news media. It's going to be Australasian news, and you're toast as both a politician and a bureaucrat.
Yeah.
But here we are bringing in fast track development plans. Here we are saying that you can put on 60 square metre flat without a consent. Here we are gazumping the unitary plan and allowing 3-story flats per standard old-fashioned traditional quarter-acre section site as a right. Waitākere don't know that they have to supply another 40,000 megalitres to that suburb within 18 months until the consents have been issued.
That's such a good point.
If I tried to fix a car like this, I'd never get paid.
I'm just curious, as a mechanic, are there solutions? Is this like a national conversation where we've got to get elected members across the country together to actually feed into what's going on to align with the experience on the ground? What do you think?
There's a whole universe of subject matter in
And
what
that.
you just said there. I don't think we need any more think tanks. I think we need less politicians, not more. My job is to do such a good job as I work myself out of a job. What should happen? There's so much in that, and a lot of the problems have a common cause. It all comes back to bureaucratic think, in my opinion. Take, for instance, these floods we've had in Auckland and these buyouts we've done. And then you've got this government shoreline adaptation and managed retreat and all that stuff that's being fought by the Kapiti Coast people.
Right.
Yes, it is stupid to let people build where there's going to be flooding or where there is flooding. But then we're going to predict the flooding with models.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make space. So you look at Auckland here, almost 1/3 of Auckland's population on a little narrow isthmus with the sea on one side and rivers at our backs. We're going to manage retreat from the sea. We're going to make space for water at our backs. Where are we going? Where are we going to live? And then in the middle of that, you've got all these people whose properties now, on average in Auckland, best part of $1 million. So you make them unsaleable, uninsurable, unmortgageable, or then you tell them to go. And we have all these academic possibilities, all these academic what ifs come out of these think tanks. And then you say, okay, so you're looking at all the possible scenarios in the future that we have to prepare for and legislate for.
Right.
What about the fact that in Auckland, earthquakes are far less likely than subterranean fire? In other words, another volcano popping up.
Right.
What do you do about the volcanoes? We're overthinking this stuff. We've got to maintain the drains. Everybody you talk to, myself included, our observations are that we've had a bunch of slips and road damage because the drains are blocked. I got a picture on my phone of a slip just happened last weekend in West Auckland in a Langham suburb. The road's been on the move for years. Everyone knows it. Auckland Transport's been fixing up all the cracks with tar, and it's slipped now. It's not done huge damage, but it hasn't practically affected any houses yet, although it's brought some risk. When you go and take pictures of the site like I have, at the very apex of the slip is another drain, and the picture of this drain, and I know from experience, the road has already moved, taking the curb line about 150 mils away from the drain. So for the last many years, the stormwater off the road has been delivered into the slip face, not into the drain, not being piped away. Get back to basics. All the people are screaming at me. Everywhere I go, the people are saying, get back to basics. But then you have this next problem, which is another one of these issues in this big mix you just talked about. Health and safety. Yes, we all want to go to work and be safe. Yes, I know my youngest son's a contractor and I've got my playing licenses and my truck licenses. I've done a little bit of work with him, helping him out when he's been short of staff. I was working on a local road doing a entranceway repair, and my own wife went past fast enough to suck their own clothes over. I understand that we need this control.
Right.
It's now become a parasitic industry, which in Auckland Transport's case is sucking 20 to 30% of their annual budget. I just came to work this morning and passed one man with a shovel cleaning some drains. Good job. That's what we want. But there was a truck with a driver in front of him, another truck, like a 3-ton, 3.5-ton one over in the heavy duty, in the HT category, a truck front and back of him with flashing lights. Neanderthals had more productivity. The cost of every shovel blow that gentleman makes comes at a $10 cost.
Wow.
We've got to fix this.
Yeah.
It's unsustainable.
Yes. Auckland is this massive amalgamated city, which I'm still getting my head around how it works and all the different pieces. Do you think, in your opinion, has that super city model, has it worked?
No.
No.
And everyone up here knew it wouldn't. But then I've got to take the blame for the fact that when we had an Auckland Regional Authority as an overarching authority and 7 little councils underneath it as your municipal council, I bagged that. Well, I shouldn't have. I deserve a good telling off because we all bagged it because it wasn't delivering.
Right.
Wasn't delivering.
Yeah.
We have to fix those reasons to get delivery. No, we did a super restructure.
Yeah.
And now basically what you've got here is 21 municipal councils, all the local boards, and the governing body is your regional entity.
Yeah.
So what's really changed? What has changed is that, and this is what's happening when I go to all the meetings, we get told, oh, we can't possibly clean all the drains. We've got 27,000 kilometres of drains and waterways in our stormwater system.
Oh,
We can't possibly clean all the pits. We've got, and I was told, 94,000 cesspits in Auckland. We have to do something with our shoreline adaptation. But please feel sorry for Auckland Council. We've got 3,500 kilometres of coastline with the Waitākere Harbour, Manukau Harbour, and part of the Rodney Harbour. That's more than from Cape Reinga to the Bluff. Oh, whoa, what do we do?
wow.
Before amalgamation, those figures were all the same. It's just that they were divided between 7 smaller councils who couldn't start wheeling out great big extraordinary statistics and say, woe is me. We did it before. Why can't we do it now?
Because it was sold under that promise of efficiency and cost savings and
Yeah, well, they always sell it under that.
yeah.
Place-based management, not portfolio-based management. That's what I've, trying to put in a nutshell. We've got to get back to place-based management.
Yeah.
What we've got here is portfolio-based management.
What would you say to the average ratepayer who is walking into this next election and assume that their elected representatives are in full control? What advice would you give to people when they're voting this election?
You're asking me a question. I got a conflict of interest in this because I got here in my overalls. I wouldn't talk to the people who are voting. I'd say to the people who are standing, don't think you can't do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. If you think that your life is not special enough to be worthy of this job, then you are the exact right person to do it.
Yeah. That's great. That is a perfect answer. Do you have any final thoughts on what needs to change for councils to function more democratically again?
Get smaller and get closer. Back to the future.
Yeah.
We used to do it better. Stop idealizing AI when we don't even know what it's going to do for us yet. We're going to be saved by technology we haven't even invented yet. I get told this in lots of meetings. And then I go home to my little farm. I have a spring at the bottom of the farm and an old diesel engine built in 1912. That was my great-grandfather's. And I crank it up with a candle and I leave it pumping water.
Wow.
For 48 hours on 2 gallons.
No way.
I'm not, there's a lot of educated people who'd climb all over me with that comment, but my observation is that diesel engine has far less embedded carbons than the electric bus that's just started trundling past the front door. Get back to basics.
This has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with me and explain things to me. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
See you later. Bye.
All right.
Nice talking
Bye.
to you.